Interest rates have been coming down, so should you buy or should you wait? What's going on right now? Hey guys, I'm Christian and I've been in the mortgage industry since 2001. In this video, we're gonna discuss what you need to know so you can make the decision on whether or not now is a good time for you to buy. So right now there's a lot of people on the fence. They're trying to figure out exactly what to do. What's gonna happen with the market? Are we going to have this crash that's been in the media where we're talking about 30, 40, 50% drop in housing prices? Or is there going to be a boom? Because we're starting to see some thoughts on that as well. So what's gonna happen? Well, first off, I thought we probably should talk about what happens actually if we go into a recession. Now, yes, there's some argument that we've already been in one, but there's also some that, say that we haven't yet and it's coming, right? So what actually happens when there is a recession, both to interest rates and as far as the housing market goes? So let's talk about interest rates first. Now, when there's a recession, typically rates drop. So a lot of times rates will follow inflation. So going forward, right, we're seeing inflation starting to come down, which is why we're starting to see interest rates drop. Typically, when the feds raise those rates in order to drop the inflation down, they trigger a recession. So typically during that time frame, you'll see interest rates start to come down. Now, what happens to housing prices? This is a little different than what you might think. Housing prices typically during a recession don't drop off a cliff. They actually stay relatively pretty flat for the most part. They don't move too much. Now, you don't see any spikes either way, whether it be a drop or a major increase. So it's important to know that there when you're making your decision. So moving forward, as I mentioned, interest rates follow inflation really closely. So inflation numbers are starting to come out, they're starting to drop, and we're starting to see a bit of a decrease in interest rates. And it's expected that that's going to continue probably for the rest of this year. We're going to see some drops. Now, we don't know how quickly that's going to happen, and we don't know how low they'll go, but that's kind of the general consensus, is that interest rates are going to drop going forward. Now, what is going on with demand, right? Housing prices, a lot of that is really based on supply and demand. Now, I can tell you what we're seeing on our end, and that is there's a lot of demand there, but there's some people that are just kind of waiting for a minute, right? Now, they're not waiting for rates to go back into the twos. They're waiting for a little bit of a dip so that they can feel comfortable with buying the home. And we saw this in January, for example. In January, rates dipped a bit, and all of a sudden we had this flood of purchase applications that came through, and we saw some areas have multiple offer situations again. February, March, rates went back up a little bit, and then suddenly that stalled for a second. But now rates are coming back down, and what we're seeing is kind of the same thing. I haven't seen multiple offers yet, but we've seen a flood of purchase applications come in. We've seen a lot of contracts coming in. This week, actually, specifically, I'm filming this the first week of April, and all of a sudden, people that were on the sidelines that were like, I'm gonna wait until the payment's a little bit more manageable. Those rates dipped just a little bit. They jumped into the housing market. They bought a house, and now they're under contract. So going forward, what's going to happen? So we think it's going to be depending on the area. It's going to really be area specific. If you're in an area that's really cool, there's just a lot of people, a lot of interest in that particular area, and rates dip a little bit and that demand is still there, you could see multiple offer situations again. Now, these are areas like an area that we see a lot that a lot of people are going down to is certain areas in Florida, right? They're watching it. They're moving from all over New York. We've seen from New York, from California, Maryland, moving to Florida. So anytime you have an area right there where there's a lot of interest, a lot of people are migrating from certain parts of the country into that one, you get a little bit of a dip in rates, you're gonna have the demand is gonna be even stronger there. You might have other areas where people are moving out of, and you might not have much of a demand there. So even if rates drop, it might still slow down a little bit in those areas, but it's gonna be a little bit different. It's interesting because I've been in the mortgage industry for a little over 20 years, and I've never seen people move around the country so much, right? We have clients that every so many years they're buying a home and they're staying in the same state, and then all of a sudden they're like, I don't want to live here anymore. I'm buying somewhere else. I'm moving to Florida, or I'm moving to Tennessee, or I'm moving to Texas, or it's really interesting. We're seeing that a lot, and so those particular areas are starting to see a little bit more growth. So anyways, if you are looking to buy a home now in 2023 and you're on the fence, you're trying to decide, should I buy or should I wait, right? First thing is just make sure that you are completely comfortable with whatever the payment is right now, right? That's important. Like, you don't want to buy with the idea of refinancing later on. Now, I understand there's some marketing out there that companies are sending out there saying, hey, buy now, redo the rate later. But you never want to set yourself in a position where you have to refinance, right? If you can refinance later on and there's a benefit to it, awesome, that's great. Do it, it'll save you a lot of money. But you don't want to set it up to where things are so tight right now that you have to refinance in 6 months to make it work, right? It's just, you're asking for trouble there. So just make sure that you're really comfortable with the payments so that in the event that maybe rates don't change as much as you need them to, right? You're still okay. And then later on, if they do and rates dip quite a bit and you can refinance and you can drop the payment on that house quite a bit, then awesome, that's a good thing for you. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions about what closing costs might be on a home, make sure to watch this video right here. It'll tell you all you need to know about it. We'll see you on the next one.